Hello and welcome to Paxton Road TV. I am Sam Spurs for Life, and this is a special that we are doing today. Is Poch really coming home? I don't know. I have no idea. Phone? Anybody got?
He's on the Poch is on the phone. He's on the blower.
What is? He's on the blower. He knows we're doing the show. What's going on?
That's some gas.
Who's got him on speed dial?
This isn't a setup.
Oh, he's gone. Drop call. Drop call. That's what it is. He's gone. He's gone. What a great start that is. What a great start that is. We can't get much better than that. Poch was actually ringing to say yes. Welcome, everybody watching the stream. Like, subscribe, share, comment. We're going to have a bit of a discussion about the Poch rumours, and we're going to have our thoughts, our say, and we hope, as I said, it's only our opinions, and we don't have to agree, but we're just going to do this anyway. And welcome, Mike. Welcome, Darius. Welcome, Shy, Nigel, and Sid in the house.
Wow.
Woo! Right then, let me just get this graphic up again. I'll put it up as an overlay. Right, the first question. Tell me why you think Poch coming home would be a good idea or not. And I will start with you, Sid. I picked on you first, Sid. I like your hair, by the way, because your hairstyle. That's what I'm saying. It's like mine. I love it. Absolutely love it. It's worth it, man.
So,
it's definitely worth it. Go on.
Do you know what? I'm in two minds, to be honest. It's a bit of both, actually. It's a good idea to bring him back because obviously he loves Tottenham. The fans love him. He also said that he's got a project that he started and he wanted to come back to Tottenham at some point and finish it off. Unfortunately for me personally, I don't think coming back he's going to finish that project with Daniel Levy in charge because, like I mentioned to you guys before he even sits down to do that contract, there's a lot of things he needs to sit down with Daniel Levy. There's a lot of guarantees. There's a lot of assurances. He's going to have to go in there, honestly, and just lay it on the table and say, right, first things first, I want him out of my club, completely gone. I don't even want to see their faces. I don't even want to speak to them. They've got to go. And then secondly, and the most importantly, he wasn't backed at all at Spurs. He needs that backing and he needs to give a list of players and say, this is my project. This is who I need. Let's deal with it. If you're not going to give it to me, then I'm gone. See you later.
Yeah, we'll get into some of those details as well because I agree with a lot of your points you're saying there, Sid. But I want to get everybody's opening gambit with regards to this. So, Nigel, you're next up. Tell me if it's a good idea or not with Poch returning to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, not to White Hart Lane, but Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, with Poch, we're entering a rebuilding stage. I think you're going to need a manager who can make players better than what they are. And he is clearly going to do that better than any of the other candidates that we have. And like when I say, if you don't think Poch coming in is a good idea, which alternative do we have really? If we're here talking about Eddie Howe and Graham Potter, it doesn't excite me. Like Poch really has to be the number one name, even if you come up with a better alternative, then I'll listen. But at the moment, it has to be Poch.
Has to be Poch from Nigel. Shy, welcome. Representing Tottenham away. Thank you for joining us today. Is it a good idea or not for Poch to come back to Spurs?
For me, 50-50. To be honest, I'm sitting on the fence. Not that I normally do. In most shows. But no, honestly, I have. Yeah, I'm kind of 50-50. I see good reasons for him to come, and I see things, well, I'm not so sure. Is it a great to do the whole second time coming back? And will it work? I'm bang on the fence, I'm afraid. 50-50 for me, and I'll give my reasons as the show goes on.
Yeah, we'll get into reasons. We'll get into some dialogue. But it's just trying to see, because I think the fan base is split. Although I've seen a lot of people saying that they want Poch back, as I think Nigel and Sid have touched on earlier as well. There will need to be some changes in order for that to happen to make it a successful one. But we'll get into that sort of conversation. Darius, I'll come to you next. Good idea? Bad idea?
Well, I think what you guys said about there needed to be changes is why, if he comes back, it kind of, for me, is a no-brainer, because I don't imagine the man who took us to the heights that he took us and almost took us to the promised land is a stupid man. And I believe that if he is coming back, he is guaranteed what he wants. And I can't imagine that Daniel Levy is in any position to say anything to him if he was to come back. So for me, if he does come back and I see him in that seat for the second time, it signifies that there's going to be change in the club, which is why I'm all for Poch coming back. Like Shai said, though, there are plenty of reasons why I'm a little bit hesitant for him coming back, and I'm a little bit thinking maybe it's too soon, because it has only been 6 months. It really has only been 6 months, or just over. So, yeah, there's a lots of positives, and I think that it confirms a lot of things for me if Poch joins, because I don't think he's an idiot, but there are, again, like Shai said, like, I'm sure we'll get into it. There's plenty of reasons why maybe it's a little bit too soon, and maybe there are other candidates that we could potentially talk about that could do better things. So yeah, I'm definitely not gonna deny me being extremely happy if Poch came back. He's probably my favorite manager that Tottenham have had since I've been alive. But yeah, we can't be silly and think that there aren't positives and negatives to this signing. So yeah.
True. So we're just welcoming those viewers that are watching. Welcome for you watching live. Thank you for your comments, Wayne. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Celery Agent. Anthony just put here, I think Poch would be a good long-term choice if backed in the transfer market. Part of me thinks Conte would bring instant success and be back to do so in the short term. Take your pick. Mike, just before we get into more details about the actual managers and Poch's, whether it's good or not, in terms of what he would actually bring again second time around, do you think it's a good idea or not? What's your thoughts?
Poch coming back. Yeah, I'd take him. I'd take him all day. If he's available, if he wants to come back, I think the positives far outweigh the negatives. And if we are going for a rebuild, then I think I'd trust Poch to get it right. So yeah, for me, the positives far outweigh any negatives. And I'd have him back in a heartbeat. He should never have left in the first place in my eyes. He should have been backed at that time. But yeah, no, and like Darius says, if he does come back, I think that does signify that there would be changes lying ahead, changes that we as fans want to see. So yeah, no, I'd 100%, I'd have him back all day long.
Okay. Just my thoughts for what they're worth anyway. I think Poch coming back is on paper a good idea. I think because of the reasons he knows the club. He said he loves the club. He said he wants to come back and finish unfinished business, all the rest of that sort of stuff. I think at the time of his sacking, he had to go. I think he'd lost the passion, not winning that Champions League, not getting what he wanted in the transfer market. Certain players obviously looking like they'd had enough of his regime, not being able to do all the stuff that he'd done previously in his tenure. So I think I think he had to go. Change had to be made at that time. Now, whether or not, looking back in hindsight, maybe they should have gone through that period, allowed him to finish wherever it would have finished. We'd probably finished lower part of the table, but then had that discussion with him to then say, right, we want to get back on track. What do we need to do? And have the dialogue. And I think that's probably what will happen the second time round. If Poch comes in, he's going to want to say, right, this is what needs to be done. So my second question then, and that's just an open discussion that we can have, what do you think Poch would want if he does come back?
I think players out more than players in. I think he'll prioritize getting players out more than in, because at the end of the day, if you've got certain players in that dressing room who have clearly been able to kind of stronghold their place in that team and in the club, they've been able to outlast almost three managers now. So for me personally, on that one, the players have to go that don't want to play, and the ones that stay have to have a commitment and have to really fit the system and the sort of style of play that we know Poch wants to play. Because obviously players like Højbjerg, I do believe he'll be able to adapt to a system like Poch's. But there can be many other signings. Like I said, Joe Hart would have never signed if Poch was still here. So yeah, the players out for me is the main thing. And then obviously getting the right players in, young, energetic, full of energy, ready to run for him. And I think Poch's system kind of works regardless. If you keep rotating that squad and bringing in the younger players and more energetic players, it should be like Pep's system, where it shouldn't really go out of date. People shouldn't really clock on. And if you do, you still got 11 players running 200 miles an hour at you throughout the whole game. That's going to be difficult to play against regardless. So yeah, players out and then the right players in first.
Do you think that because we haven't got this at this moment in time, and I know it's been talked about quite a lot, we haven't got a director of football, do you think Poch is going to want to have more control over who goes and who comes in? Because I think he had a degree of control, but I think at the end of the day, there was some press conferences where he almost threw his hands up and says, I'm just the coach. You know what I mean? I just coach the players. It seemed as if whoever was brought in, he didn't have the final say. He may have had discussions, and I think he probably had these discussions with Steve Hitchen and Daniel Levy, but somebody else was making the final decision. Is he going to need to have a director of football, or would we think that Poch would be in a position to say, right, I know exactly what I want. I want these players, and I want these players out. Do you think that's something he's going to demand?
Go on, Nigel.
Yeah, that's one thing that I do like about this, because hearing that Poch had disagreement with Leonardo, and hearing that Poch in the end he kind of did have power struggle with Levy, I like the fact that Poch kind of has principles that he wants to instill. He has certain things he wants control of, transfers, the kind of player he's signing. So again, saying that Levy's going to have to come back to Poch begging him, and Poch has got Real Madrid as this dangling thing, and it's like, I'm coming to Tottenham over Real Madrid. You know what I mean? You are in no position to. So hearing that Poch has those kind of like intentions, especially with the academy and stuff, with the rebuild too, and knowing that he does want control of transfers and the kind of culture of a team, giving him the bargaining chips excited me for what he could actually achieve. Whereas another manager just coming in, like Jose didn't get a say on anything really. It was really Spurs players that he wanted, but now Poch will have at least a footing in this negotiation to implement something new.
And he'd be an idiot. He'd be an absolute idiot if he didn't have this sort of power written in his contract, like sort of guaranteed. Yeah. Because if the way he was treated, he wasn't given any signings for 2 years, and then they booted him out when he was 14th place. It's like, and then they literally hired a manager the next day. For me, if I'm coming back to that, and like you said, Nigel, with obviously Real Madrid's vacancy now available, you really have to sort of promise. And when I say promise, it's not no gentleman's agreement, it's contractual agreements, isn't it? Like you can't come in and say, yeah, I want you to give me these players. You kind of have to say, if I'm coming, I'm getting these players, and if not, you're letting me leave with all the money that I've come in with. That's the sort of situation for me.
What I'm saying is, though, why would Poch want to come back if we're to be leaving some of the media reports? And I've read a couple of things yesterday that PSG are surprised that all this bluster's happening in the UK about him returning. They basically said they don't see that happening. They've already started planning for their future. They will obviously give him a significant amount of money in comparison to the money he may get at Spurs. We all know we're not the most advanced in terms of giving money out in terms of transfers and that, although we do spend money. Why would Poch want to come back? For what?
Do you know what? He was at Southampton. And when we nicked him from Southampton, I think the love, the passion he's been given by the Tottenham fans and the loyalty, well, not loyalty, but how passionate the fans are week in, week out, how quickly we adapted to Pochettino. And also he's realised that Tottenham's got a tradition going back to years, entertaining football and the philosophy. I think he's really, really surprised. And I think, like you said, he's got a project. He got sacked. He's gone to PSG. He's realised that working underneath a director of football who told him who he was going to get, it's not worked out. It's all about money at PSG, and they were just interested in, we'll pay stupid money for stupid players. Whereas Tottenham, he knows that going back to a club where the fans love the club, the fans will love the managers if the manager plays the way the fans want their team to play. And I think overall, I think he's loved, and everyone saw it. The way he went to the fans, the way he was giving it all his bowing at the Champions League, the semi-final against Ajax, he was crying. I've never seen him so passionate at a club as he has been at Tottenham. And I think he's got Tottenham in him through and through. And that's the only reason I think he's coming back, because he wants to give the fans the success they've been craving for. And he wants to be that man.
I've heard reports as well that his wife lives in London and he's got a kid at Wolves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, what was the other thing as well? He's living in a hotel.
He's living in a hotel room, isn't he?
Yeah. So. Apparently, he's back in London, isn't he?
His boy's at Watford, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I read, that half his family's here and half his family's over there with him. So it is a bit of a split. I do think he enjoys a life in the UK. I do think he enjoys that London life. His son, as we just mentioned, was at the Spurs, within the Spurs Academy, moved to Watford recently. So I do believe he has some degree of maybe allegiance to being in the UK. But, you know, he's gonna come back and he's gonna want some assurances. Now, I'm not sure what without signing finally, we've still got a lot of the same players that were there previously. So he's gonna have to do quite a bit of work just to get to a point where he can start again, if that makes sense. So why would he want to do that? Given the fact that he's at PSG, he's got Neymar, he's got Mbappe. I know they might not stay, but you look at the star-studded list of players that they've got, and we've got number 17 and number 8. Come on, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a, do you know? So
well, PSG's team, I don't know. I think Sid's got it spot on. I do think that he could probably have all of the glory, all the trophies he wants at PSG, but I just don't believe that he's going to feel that love. And I really do feel like Poch works off emotion and sort of that love that he's getting from the fans. I think he really does channel that. So for me, he probably could win Ligue 1 next year. I don't see him winning the Champions League anytime soon, to be honest, with PSG. I really thought they could do something this season. But yeah, I just think that if he was to win something with PSG, and obviously that was the reason he went to PSG, because he was sick and tired of being clowned for the trophy thing at Tottenham. I think he went PSG to kind of put a few trophies on his CV. If he can win a trophy at Tottenham, that will mean so much more to him and those fans, all of us I'm talking about, as it would winning another trophy for PSG, just another Liga. And do you know what I mean? That's more for him. It's not for the club. If he wins a Champions League for that club, then of course he'll go down as a legend. But I think it's much easier to win an FA Cup.
He didn't win the league with PSG this season. So
I'm not sort of subscribing to that. I do believe obviously they've got world-class players, but you can't disregard what Leo did this season. And there's going to be times like that in the league where if a team goes unbeaten for 15 games at the end of the season, I'm sorry, but they were the better team. They played better. They had a better season. And also, don't forget, Thomas Tuchel was in charge of this season for PSG. So there were sort of fragments and issues going on at the club, which Poch had to sort of turn around, which he did quickly as well. Don't forget, he came into that club and beat Barcelona 4-1 in the Nou Camp. He did a job for them. And obviously, you come against Man City, the best team in Europe, and you can not really... obviously, I thought he was going to win, but when you think about it, if they lose, it's not that bad. So I'm not subscribing to the idea that he should have won the league, this and that. This season, if he doesn't win the league, 100% it's on him. But coming into a team where Tuchel was sacked, they had the squad isn't that great at the moment for PSG. If you actually look at the team, and they're playing Herrera, Idrissa Gueye in the middle, they're literally rejects from the Premier League. So, and I know they're decent players, but you expecting more from PSG. I don't subscribe to that idea that the league is Poch's fault, this and that. I think 6 months, if they were to get rid of him now, they're crazy. If he wants to come back to Tottenham after 6 months, that's his choice. And I don't think that's down to his performances at PSG.
It's a bigger achievement for him, isn't it? To win something at Tottenham than it is to win something at PSG.
I'm just going to come to this comment here. So, Shai, what do you think of this comment? Do you think that this is another Levy smoke and mirrors screen to distract the fan base? Or do you think this is a genuine, actual attempt? Because I've heard that there's reports that they've been in discussions. There's reports that he's talking, but then there's reports in Paris to kind of go against what the reports in the UK are. Do you think this is a bit of a smoker's mirrors job and we're going to get somebody else down the road?
Why?
Yeah, you could say that. I guess you could say that maybe, but I think there has been discussions. I believe there has been discussions. So, I mean, I think that's why we're waiting so long for an announcement of anything, because I think the Poch has come in, at the last minute. I think they probably had 2 targets in mind maybe, and then the whole Poch thing has come along, and that's kind of changed everything, I think. So I think there is truth to it, without a doubt. I mean, going on the assurances, I mean, as Twitter is Bible, I hear that, he wants at least a 4-year contract at Spurs, and he definitely wants to be, have a massive say in the transfer department. That's two things he wants assurances without a doubt. And
this comment here from Wayne. Sorry to interrupt you. This comment here from Wayne. Just wanted to get this in.
Yeah.
Can he be trusted though, Levy? Because he sacked him once when the chips were down a little bit. Poch obviously did have a bit of a downer because of the Champions League final and the transfer market. If he doesn't get assurances, because I don't know what assurances you can put in his contract to make Poch say, okay, that means I'm definitely not going to get sacked or not going to get moved on when the chips are down. What's he gonna trust in Levy? How is he gonna trust him?
Well, I mean, like you said just now, Sam, he loves the club. He always said from when he left, I want to return and all the rest of it. And I agree with what's been said. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe it's a bit too quick to be coming back. But at the same time, it's clear that he loves the club so much and he wants to win a trophy with Spurs. he's got to be wiser now. Surely he's got to be a lot of a wiser man to Levy than he was before. He knows what happened before we Levy. If he doesn't contractually get those assurances, then he's in a job at PSG. He doesn't have to go anywhere. Why would he have to? Do you know what I mean? If he's really 110% sure that he's going to get what he wants from Levy, then fair enough. He can resign. Let's not forget this. He can resign from the job. Yeah, it's not like he'll be walking straight into another job. So he can resign from PSG if he wants to. Okay, there's nothing to go against that. But
apart from the money that you'd lose in compensation,
well,
that
shows his love, doesn't it? That will probably show how much he cares.
He's not being sacked, is he? He's not going into a job. He's going straight into a job, and he'll probably be demanding a decent wage, I would have thought, from Levy.
Because he's got 1 year. He's got 1 year left on his PSG contract.
One and a half.
Yeah,
one and a half. A year and a half, okay. I'm not sure what his annual wage is, but it's going to be decent wage. You know what I mean? He's not going to go to PSG for peanuts. But it probably won't be as much as someone like Jose was on at Spurs. Spurs do pay decent money for managers. And I've heard that they were looking to pay a lot of money for whoever the next manager is. If it's going to be someone like Conte, which they've been discussing again, they're saying they're going to be paying him something like 15 million a year, which is a lot of money for a manager.
So Poch is only earning 7 million a year, 7 million euros a year at PSG at the moment. I just wanted to say that.
Only.
Yeah. Compared to Mourinho, who was earning 15 and did nothing with us. Double. Mourinho was earning double, so it's obvious the wage is perfectly fine. It's not going to.
That's really disrespectful as well, by the way.
Yeah, for Mourinho to be earning double what Poch, and he's at PSG it's crazy. It's crazy.
And apparently, Conte is going to be the second. If he gets the job at Spurs, he's going to be the second highest paid manager in the Prem behind Pep. So it's going to be 16, 17 at least.
I'm coming to you, Mike. What would need to change to make the second stint more successful than the first two? Obviously, the obvious one would be win a trophy, but there are other things in terms of possibly the choice of players, because I think he was over-reliant on certain players. At times, I thought he was over-reliant on Christian Eriksen, he was over-reliant on Dele Alli. I know they kind of fell away a little bit towards the end, but there were certain players that was almost like, not quite the Mason Mates sort of thing, but there were certain players I'm thinking, hold on a minute, they're playing all the time. What's going on then? And I think even people like Danny Rose were kind of alluding to it in certain conversations as well. So what would need to change second time round for it to be successful?
For it to be successful, I think the first thing's quite obvious. He needs to be given the opportunity to clear out the dead wood. And I think that'd be one of the first tasks that he'd want to get underway, because some of those players that are in the squad chucked him under the bus. So if he came back, I think first things first, to give himself half a fighting chance, he's got to has to clear out half that squad. It's just not good enough. And if he doesn't, then he's just making a rod off his own back, because he'll find himself 12 months, 15 months down the line in the same position, and he'll get the heave-ho again. So for him the first and foremost is for him to be given the opportunity to clear out, and give him give him some trust, give him a bit of powers to be like, okay, I tell you what, you decide what players we bring in. I
think his talent ID is pretty decent as well. It's not. I think he was trying to sort of. I think Ndombele was sort of his sort of. I want him. I think you're right. I think Zession as well was a play that he was looking at. I think his talent ID isn't that bad at all.
No, I think he's probably got a team around him that he trusts, who know the system, the formation, the style, the philosophy that he has in his mind, who would complement that system that he would want to play. So I would say Levy's got to give him some sort of control in terms of the transfers. Forget Hitch out, get rid of. I mean, if Poch came in, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, get him out. I don't want him anywhere near.
You know what, Mike? Apparently they get on very well. Hitchin wants him back.
Well, I heard Mourinho gets on well with him as well.
You know what, Shai? I feel like Hitchin wants him back because he does his job for him. I think that Poch will probably say, look, Hitchin, mate, I need you to go to Italy. There's this player here that I want. Hitchin will go and do the job.
Oh,
You don't have to scout. You don't have to
no.
get any planes. Poch tells him to play it. He goes and does the dealing. So that's probably why they're best friends. And now that Mourinho's here, he's had to go and do all the work. So yeah, probably.
Apparently,
But they got on well together. Apparently, Hitch out and Mourinho got on. They got on well.
What is this? Is he part of this mafia that Sissoko's leading? Is it Sissoko? I'm telling you, man.
No, man.
Hitchens, apparently Hitchens' playlist is he's got that in it. I want you back. I want you back. Whatever I said, whatever I didn't mean it. I want you back.
Well, I'm gonna ask a question because this comment here from SUBSRCRIBE TV. Well, thank you for watching, by the way. Do you think the power of Poch would not force someone like him? Would it make Kane change his mind about potentially going, if, as the speculation goes, that he is potentially leaving? Do you think Poch could have that influence? Who wants to answer?
I think like Poch coming in, our timeline has to align with what Kane wants with his career, and what I'm expecting if Poch has to come in, I'm expecting him to bring through the players that we're talking about, like Sessegnon, and hopefully what he did with like some of the players that we have now, just kind of develop them to that next level. Even Kane. However, I don't think Kane has the time, because to be honest, I mean, I hate Mourinho at the moment because I feel like he broke down every single thing that Poch did. So Poch is kind of having to start again. And with the timeline, to see us get to that level of what Kane wants from his career, it's going to take a lot more than just one more season with Poch with what we have. It will take minimum 2 or 3, minimum. So, I mean, Kane can stay, but at the end of the day, what drastic changes can we really expect to follow in the next season going on from what happened this season?
Shai's patiently waiting with his hands up.
But then again, I don't think he has a choice. So what I said is irrelevant.
Very true.
I'll come to Shai because Shai wanted to raise a point. What did you want to say, Shai?
Poch comes back now. It's literally the first time he came in the first place. It starts again from there because he has to do exactly the same job that he did the first time. You know, he got rid of ex-players the first time around. He's going to have to do exactly the same thing again. It's going to have to be the same build as last time. There's no two ways about that. I mean, people like, I mean, Dyer was on the way out when Poch was there. He wasn't playing. Even Dele Alli, I believe, wasn't playing at the time before he left. I think he was on the bench quite a bit, to be fair. So yeah, for me, it has to be, you know, as Mike's already alluded to, the fact that we have to get rid of those players that just are not going to be doing it for him. Toby is another one; he'll be gone. I'm sure Toby will be straight out the door.
We've sort of come full circle, haven't we? Like I feel like it's almost like 2013 all over again, where Bale was left and he was given, well, I don't know, was it Villas-Boas who was in charge at that point? Was given players, or given the money to spend on players that was spent wrongly. I believe we're literally in the same situation, and if we had Poch back as opposed to a manager managers who we have been linked with. I understand Conte is a serial winner, and he's pretty young for a manager as well. So I'm not saying that Conte wouldn't do good things, but if you actually look at the team that he's built and created at Inter, it's not a young team, and the players there aren't the players that sort of you would consider as Spurs players. Your Ashley Youngs, your Koلاrovs. He needs those sort of players to sort of instill that mentality amongst the players. And then you've got Barellas, you've got Martinez's, you've got Lukaku's who are slightly younger. So I don't think Conte is the right right manager for us in terms of building a squad. Poch, however, I do believe he would be able to bring a good academy. What it looks like, we've got a good crop of academy players at the moment. Poch with those academy players like Scarlett, like Divine, like Lavinia, I think could go very, very far. And if you give him, let's say Harry Kane does leave and he's not able to convince him to stay, you give him 150 million to spend. I do believe Poch will be able to spend that 150 million quite wisely and be able to bring in players necessarily. Might not be world-class players that you can get, but you might be able to get one, and then he might be able to bring in 2 or 3 players under that 20-30 million mark. He might be able to mold into great players, just like Ali. I mean, 5 million for Ali, and now look, we could have sold him for about 50, 60, 70 million in his prime. So I do believe that Poch, giving Poch that money this time, I do believe he'll make the right decision. I really do. I have faith in him to make the decision.
I'm going to come to Mike, because Mike looked like he wanted to say something here. What's your thoughts, Mike?
I was just going to say, do you think he'd bring anyone from PSG with him?
Yeah, Neymar and Mbappe.
If
it was anyone,
Why are you laughing?
Mbappe.
What's going on?
Kane
Why are you laughing? That's
Kane
true.
could go
You've got to
then.
bring both of them. You can't
I
just pick one of
mean,
them. You've got to bring both.
swap deals for
I mean, we'd
Aurier
swap the
and
whole
Sissoko.
squad. We'd swap the whole squad and have just Neymar and Mbappe starting as a
No, I'm just gonna refer back to this point that John's made. I left it up here for a reason. So, John, thank you for watching, John. If we don't get Poch, what he wants, Real Madrid will sure will. So, what they're saying is there's a big job still going. I personally believe that it's either going to be Conte going to Real Madrid or potentially Poch if he is leaving PSG. Because I think he's come on record as saying he would go to Real Madrid if they said, "Yeah, there's a job here," and there is a job there now.
They're in a lot of financial difficulties, though, aren't they? So,
Mike, I think what
they always
they've
find
been
money,
doing
but
is, I think they've been
they're
saving this
heavily-
money, not spending any money in their last window, because I think they're trying to get one of Mbappe or Haaland in the next summer. I think that's the reason why they've not spent. Obviously, they are in extreme amounts of debt as well, but I think they're planning for a big window sometime soon.
Yeah,
that's
what's
why
his name? Son?
That's why Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus are still sticking with the ESL because they're just severely in debt. That's why
riddled.
Yeah, that's why Barcelona are looking at players to sign as freebies. So,
but they're signing good frees. They've signed Wijnaldum, Depay, Aguero, and Donnarumma. That's four free signings.
Wijnaldum as well.
Yeah, Wijnaldum as well. So you can get good value in free players.
That's
this
the
whole free
power
signing.
they've got, though, isn't it?
Yeah, true. It's true.
Yeah.
But,
just going back to a couple of comments that's been. Sorry, Mike. I'm going to come back to your point in a minute. It's just what Mr. Silver Fox had put up in here. Bringing Poch back, in effect, Daniel Levy would have to admit that he's made a mistake because there's no way. And Daniel Levy's a very proud man. You know what he's like. He doesn't. His negotiations are very tough. It's almost like he would have to admit to the fan base that he's made a mistake. Would that bode well for relationship for both of them going forward? Would that mean more of a power struggle? Because obviously, if Poch comes back, Daniel Levy has to admit he's made a mistake. It puts Poch in a very powerful position.
I don't think there's any issues between the relationship because, I mean, if there was, I'm sure we would have seen Pochettino come out and sort of speak, well, the truth of maybe what had gone on behind the scenes, but he hasn't. So I honestly don't think the relationship's the issue. I think it's just thrashing out the ins and outs. If there was any potential for him to come back, I think it's just more a case of thrashing out the ins and outs, what Poch's demands are, and if Levy wants him, he's going to have to bow down to those. If they're realistic demands, then I think he's going to have to sort of bow down and appease to what Poch wants. And I honestly think any manager that's coming in, the first thing they're going to say is, "I want to be in charge of the rebuild in terms of who's going out, who's coming in." And that's a given for any manager that comes in. You don't want upstairs, or you don't want your head of recruitment dictating as to who can go and who can stay and who comes in. Surely that's the whole point of the manager. That's what I think on that myself.
Sid, what do you think?
Yeah, what I was going to say was what was Mike was saying. I think he regretted sacking him in the first place, didn't he? And then he's made a quick jump decision on getting Mourinho because he's probably thought Mourinho's won all these trophies. Let me get him in. He's going to guarantee me a trophy, and all the Poch sacking people will get off my back. But if I'm right, they're still good mates, Pochettino and Levy. And also, if you read and believe what the papers and the news articles are saying, hasn't he already admitted that he made a massive mistake by sacking Poch in the first place? So he would be eating humble pie, but you know what? You've got to do it. Yeah, and you have to do it because if you want the glory days back, or if you want some success, because everyone knows how bad we've been this season, every aspect from the recruitment, playing, everything, he's going to have to eat humble pie big time.
Thanos,
I don't think he'd worry about that.
You don't think so?
No, I think he'd be all right with it. I think he would eat humble pie if it meant Poch coming back.
I think if they've got a relationship, I think, like you said, if they've got this friendly relationship that they have, because I heard about that as well, like they still keep in contact. Obviously, his son was at the academy for quite a while after Poch had left. So there is a degree of, understanding between the two. But this is business at the end of the day. We can't lose sight. This is all about business. So given the choice, and I'm going to come to Thanos first. All right, do you want to say? Go on.
No, just a quick. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Levy's got to save so much race with the fans now. I mean, this is one of the only things he could probably do is to get the fans slightly back on side is by getting Poch in. You know, that is one of the biggest things that would slightly appease the fans. And let's not make bones about it. The season ticket holding thing is coming to an end now, isn't it? You know, so that would be a statement in terms, because I've heard a lot of people haven't renewed. Thousands.
I haven't.
I've heard that thousands have not renewed, and I've heard that from a mate of mine, good source, who is a season ticket holder. He's told me a lot of people have not renewed. Not that it makes a difference because it's got such a big waiting list in one way, but still, I think, you know, signing Poch would be, you know, that one little bit to helping Levy to kind of, you know, get the fans back on board.
Thanos, would this make you more excited for next season if Poch was to return? Other than the not the dread, because I hate to use the word dread, but I'm not actually looking forward to next season at this moment until we get managers sorted out, until we get certain players out, until we know who's potentially realistically transfers coming in. But if tomorrow they said, right, yeah, we've got him in, would that mean next season is going to be better for you already before we even kicked the ball?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I kept saying when we were in the group chat, I'd much rather take a gamble on an unproven manager. Like, I was even throwing out Gerrard. I was saying, listen, the people that we are linked to change nothing. Like, I'd rather we just took a big swing and a miss rather than we just kept things ticking along. And I think Poch coming in, obviously with the laying his balls on the table, like it is that swing and a miss that I've wanted. He's going to bring that charisma. He's going to bring that excitement and the feeling of a new beginning, kind of, because he does have that charisma and that character and that youth, kind of. It does make you want, and also the football that we can expect again is going to be worlds apart from what we were seeing last year. I mean, Poch is a big swing and a miss. I 100% co-sign that. Well, not a swing and a miss. He's a big swing, and we don't know if it's a miss yet, but I co-sign it.
Interesting.
He wouldn't make the same mistake. Sorry, Shane, I was just going to say he wouldn't make the same mistakes as last time. 100%. If he comes in, players are going out.
What should be his aim then? What should be what's his first day back in the job? He gets his old office back. He gets his tracksuit back on. First day in the job. What's his thought process? What should he be thinking? I need to do first. Is it, as I said, discussing things with Harry Kane, getting him to stay, getting contracts signed up with people like Son? Or is it, right, we need to get this whole structure right? And what I say about that is, right, I need to know, am I in charge of transfers? These are the things. So I don't know. What's his first day like?
I think he'd already know before he comes in. He already know if he's in charge of transfers or not, because he's not going to take the job if he's not in charge. So I think that if he comes in, I think it's a given that he's probably going to be heavily, if he's not 100% in charge, he's heavily influencing that situation. I think if he comes in like the first day in his office, the first thing he should do is go and speak to Harry Kane, find out where his head's lying. If he can talk him round, great. If he can't, then he knows what he's got to do. But I think the first thing he's got to do is work out the players that he potentially wants to bring in, and then he can be like, right, he can go. If I get these in, that's a start.
I think the players out has to be a thing. Surely, like, I understand, like, obviously you think about the players in, but if he can sell the players first and get everyone out that he knows will go, because I believe that Aurier, like I said, Aurier with a year left on his contract, Sissoko with a year left on his contract, they're gonna definitely go. But then players like Ali, Davis, they might not go this season, and they might have a place as a squad player in this team. So I think you have to get rid of all of the players you know are leaving. Then, like you said, Mike, bring in the players. Then I agree. I think you should bring in a few academy players, see who can come in through the academy, and then you bring in a few, and then you bring in your players in, and then you can see. Because if you've got academy players that can fill in squad, I do definitely believe that someone like Scarlett, who isn't going to get loads of game time, can definitely do a role as a sub left winger or a sub striker, and then you can sort of prioritize the money on an attacking midfielder. If you've got somebody like Scarlett as a left wing, you don't necessarily might need to buy an attacking player. So I think that making sure that you've got all the players, it is, and we're speaking hindsight as well. So
because you could argue that it could be harder for us to bring in the players than it is to get rid of the players. Then you've got that flip argument of, well, actually, no, it could be harder to get rid of some of these players than it is to bring in. Because let's not forget, what have we got actually to sort of incense? What's the word I'm looking for? I suppose influence. Incentivize and influence players to come in and play for Tottenham when
Pochettino.
we're playing in a pony European Cup.
I really think Pochettino has that much influence. I think that when you see somebody, I can't remember who said it in our show on Tuesday, but when you see when young players see what Pochettino can do to players and develop them, you as a young player, like, if I can play well, I'm gonna get into this team. And Tottenham, if you're playing for Tottenham as a 18, 19, 20-year-old, that's crazy. For me, that's massive. And
I just want to say, just onto this quote here. Sorry, this comment here from Lockman. Levy's not looking for a manager; he's looking for a head coach. It was in the matchday program. That being said, then, if he is looking for a head coach, would then Pochettino come back to take that role? Because I believe Pochettino just wants to get on, and I think he's better as a coach.
Yeah.
You know, he's a coach. He's really good on the training ground. He does all the sessions, all the rest of it. But I think he also wants a degree of control. If he's told, right, your job, your title is head coach, would that make a difference to whether he'd come to Spurs or not?
Yeah, I think it would.
Yes, I think it would. 100%.
Because he wanted to be the manager. He made that very clear last time. He made that very clear. He didn't want to be.
He wants to pull the strings. Yeah,
and I think he deserves it as well. I think he deserves it if he's coming back.
I mean, you only have to look at what the sort of players he brought through, the transfer deals he made, etc. at Southampton, and I mean, look where they've all gone. So he should be given some element of control, 100%. I don't want to see, if Poch comes in, I don't want to see Hitch out or Levy taking control of these transfers, dictating who comes in and who comes out. Because, I mean, essentially, Poch be managing a team that has been assembled by other people other than himself. So he's in no better situation than he was last time. So
this has always happened, Mike, hasn't it? Spurs get in players that they identify and they tell the manager they have to work with him. Example, Lucas Moura. He was not a Poch signing, right? Steven Bergwijn was not a Mourinho signing. Okay. Ryan Sessegnon, I don't think was a Mourinho a Poch signing. I think he was one that was scouted by the club for a long time. So I think the club still have this mentality of saying, oh, if we see a bargain or a player that we think is decent, we're going to go for him, take him.
Well, then
you could even say regular.
With a mix of who they want. So I think there's a mix going on. Whether that's right or wrong, that's another thing.
Well, that's
that's what it seems to be.
That's just confirming then that we don't know what our philosophy is as a club, do we? We don't know what we want. Do we want to be an attacking team playing on the front foot? Do we want to be a team that's just built on the counter attack? Are we a club that wants to invest in youth and bring youth through? We don't know what we want.
I think we had a lot of direction with Poch because he did clearly want to promote youth. He clearly had a front foot offensive type style of football in terms of that, press from the front, all the rest of it. He probably, what I think he lacked though was, I hate to say it, I think some of the players that he probably had, I don't think were good enough. So he was trying to fit certain pegs into round holes, square peg, whatever it was. And that, but I mean, so he playing Eriksen out on the right-hand side. I know it works to a degree at points, but we didn't have a right balance. I think if he can get a good balance in this squad, so this is one of the things that Tony's saying here. Poch is one of those managers that should be long-term. What I mean by that is life after Kane and some of the older players, he needs to be assured of funds to allow him to bring in players. So he needs to be allowed to bring in what fits his philosophy, what fits his mold of football. And if he's not in control of that, then he's going to have to rely on Steve Hitchout and Daniel Levy to make those final decisions on players. And he'll get players that they're all right. That's why he said, quoted, I don't want any players if they're not going to improve the squad. So he was, when we were going through that stage of not transfer windows and we didn't make any signings, he came out and said, I'd rather not have any players.
Which I think Levy took a bit too seriously, didn't he? Took a little bit too literally there, didn't he?
Quite literally.
Let's not forget, right? He did have Winks and Sissoko playing in the same midfield for a while.
And he managed to get a tune out of them as well. That's the craziest thing. He managed to get a tune out of them
at centre midfield for a good while, which I
have to give him credit for that.
Happy about.
How he did that was magic.
That thing of Poch not getting his own players. Ultimately, I mean, he worked at Spurs. How many years was it? 5 years?
5 years, I believe.
He was
5,
at
6 years.
Spurs 5 years, and he did it. Do you know what I mean? He did it very successfully for a long period of time. And the only time where it fell apart is essentially when they just didn't back him financially. But it wasn't because they were picking players for him. It was because they just didn't pick players. So he's worked under that model before.
Whilst you're talking, and I'm just going to put this graphic up just so we can see what Poch actually did at Spurs and in comparison to a few of the other managers. So thank you to Darius for putting this together. The managerial records at Spurs. We can see here, top of the tree, Ryan Mason job. It's yours, son. It's yours, mate. 100%. That win ratio is fantastic. But in all seriousness, no, Poch played 202 games and had a win ratio of 50. Well, pretty much
very, very impressive.
Pretty decent in the amount of games that he's played.
Very impressive.
You know, when you look at that, you can see that we had clearly a more of a winning streak in us than we did losing. And over that period of games, in comparison to someone like Harry Redknapp again, who had the fans on side and was playing players just going out there saying play. But then the interesting one, and I know he didn't play as many games, but the AVB, he was like mini Jose, you know, playing this very pragmatic style of football and managed to get us 53%.
And he managed to have Gareth Bale at his peak. Let's forget that. Let's not forget that. Yeah, he was winning games on his own.
Yeah, single-handedly. That's true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. So Poch has got a decent record. What does he need to change anything in himself personally if he were to come back? Or I mean, does he need Jose? I remember when Jose was being lauded for the Spurs job, and when he got the Spurs job, he said, "Oh, I'm not going to make the same mistakes. I'm going to make new ones." Is there anything that
he really did?
Oh, he made new ones.
Oh my God, Jose! At least he told the truth, mate. At least he told the truth, bro.
When I read that, and I was like, "Yeah, Jose weren't lying. You weren't lying, Jose, when you said that." But again,
he wasn't lying.
Putting that onto Poch, does he need to change anything fundamentally in his approach before he takes a job, or is it a case of what he did before was working? It's just a case of now being allowed to finish the process or the project that was in place before.
I mean, Chai said it, didn't he? Chai said it. He said he's gonna have to start again. So like
all
brick by brick, Mourinho undid anything that Poch ever put into place. And essentially, if we were to get this exact same Poch again, at the very least, if he can take us back to that level that we were at, I mean, he's done a great job, hasn't he?
I agree. I think, honestly, I do believe that the only difference Poch might have to make is I think the league's tougher now. So if he was to come back, I think that he would have to maybe against the bigger teams, if the squad isn't competing. I do believe that his system helps us play against big teams by, that energy and just the constant running. It really did. It sort of put pressure on teams who wanted to keep possession against us, like your Man Cities, and we were sometimes dominating the ball against these teams. But I do believe that there's a lot more good teams in the league. So I think that he would have to rely on more players in that squad. I think he was only really playing 13, 14 players, I believe, when we were really going for it. So I think that if the squad's not better, if there's not 16 good players for him to choose from, he might have to take a more pragmatic approach against the bigger teams, just because the energy and the fitness is not going to be there the first season. The players are clearly not fit, and they're clearly not going to be able to run like they did for him in that first season. So I think you might have to take a little bit of a more pragmatic approach in that first season until the fitness levels and the players he wants come into the squad.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Poch needs to come back, and I think he has to adapt slightly because, I mean, as much as we all loved his attacking style of play, I think it was predictable a lot of times against teams, and I'm sure we can all remember the teams that sat back and put 11 men behind the ball, and we couldn't break them down for love or money. We used to struggle against teams like that, So I think in some games you need to adapt your tactics, and that's one thing with Poch. I just thought it was always, this is the way we play, and this is the way we're going to play, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? It kind of seemed to be only one way for me that we were going to play. And I think sometimes, like Darius was just alluding to, we need to adapt sometimes against certain teams. And I think that's one thing with Poch that I felt he could have done a bit better. I think against some teams, sometimes you have to analyse other teams and go, look, if we play this way, we're not going to... I mean, look at the times we played Liverpool when they high-pressed us and we tried to pass our way out the back. I watched it with my own eyes. We got absolutely picked off how many times because they pressed right up against us. Manchester City did the same. At Wembley, I was at the game when we was on a great run of form. We played Manchester City. They absolutely battered us at Wembley. Yeah, I was there. I saw it in front of my own eyes. And again, I think with some teams, he just needs to slightly adapt what he's going to do. It can't be the kind of the same old. Because teams do suss you out after a while. So I'm hoping when he comes back, he's kind of learnt a little bit from those experiences and maybe.
Oh, Shy saying when? Shy saying when he comes back.
Oh, did I? Oh my
when?
God.
He's on the inside. That was the phone call earlier at the start of the show.
Just accidentally.
That was the phone call. Wow, you know something we don't. Do we think if we get the sort of money that we're talking about, and John's made this quote here, if Levy can give us 150 million to spend along with the money from sales, Poch can rebuild us to challenge the big boys again. Do we think it's just a case of throwing money at it? Go on, and Sid.
No, I don't think it is. I think you can throw as much money as you want. At the end of the day, it's who you spend that money on, who you buy, and 100%. You have to buy the right players that are going to A, give 100%, B, want to wear the shirt, and 3, show pride and passion. Because you can go and spend 150 million on anybody from whenever, because he's a big name, doesn't mean he's going to give you 100%. And once everyone starts downing tools, he's going to start downing tools, and then they're all going to look at him or whatever. I think more rather than quantity, quality is going to come into the equation here. We have to buy the right quality players. I don't think we need quantity. I think we need, like everyone's saying, buy 1 or 2 players now, then wait for the next transfer window, refresh it a little bit, 1 or 2 players. And the other thing I was going to say as well is, gradual thing. I mean, he's been in England for a couple of 5 years with us, 2-3 years at Southampton. I think going to France, it might be an eye opener for him as well, because he's been there, he's done the European thing, played in the Champions League, Neymar, Mbappe, all them players, and he's seen it's the grass is not greener on the other side. They wanted instant success, the league, the Champions League. He's not done that, whereas he's learned, he's experienced now, so he can now bring that on top of what he's had at Tottenham previously, adapt, make the changes, and take us to the next level.
What I will say about Poch, sorry, Sam. What we'll say about Poch is, and that his tenure at PSG, what really made me open my eyes and think, right, this guy is a proper elite manager. He got the likes of Mbappe and Neymar to work, and I understand it was in the Champions League, but even in the league, they were working so hard. I'd never seen Neymar and Mbappe work so hard in games before, and that made me think. And if you actually listen to what they say, they have a lot of respect for Pochettino, and I think that goes a long way. If you can get superstars, real elite superstars, to kind of fight for you, even if it's like not necessarily because of you, but even if it's because you tell them, right, you're at this club, we need to win the Champions League, we need to do it for the fans. If he can get those guys to defend like they did, because I've not seen Neymar do that in a long time, then I believe that he's got the potential, he's got the quality. We all know he's got the quality to do that with any player. And I think that if you give him, even like he said, Sid, the quality is important. But even if you gave Poch a half decent, or a guy who's 75% or not quite world class, but has got the potential, Poch is one of those managers that can turn players into world class players. Yeah, and absolutely. You can see that because, and I know they're not world class, but Sissoko and Winks are bad football players in my opinion, and he made them look very good for the past 3 or 4 years he was there. So I believe that Poch really can fix a lot of problems himself. It's just whether we and the club will trust him and give him the right money and situation to do it.
I think Ali, I think he can bring Ali back. I think he can bring Ali back to his best. Honestly,
That's like raising Lazarus. That's like raising Lazarus from the dead. That is very, very, very.
I think he can. You know, I think he will.
Let it go, boys. Let it go.
I think he can.
Yo.
First, he needs to cut the hair. First, he needs to put him in a seat and cut the hair off, and then I'll believe he said. Then I'll believe.
Yeah. The hair's got to go on it.
Definitely has. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come around to you all for a last summing up. We've almost done an hour now. So what I'm just going to ask is your final thoughts on Poch, the rumours of Poch coming back, and if not Poch, just a quick one-liner as to who you would want to see, or the type of manager. If you don't want to name a name, the type of manager you'd like to see. So I'm going to start with you, Mike.
Some last thoughts on the whole Poch. I hope he does come back. I hope he does. I hope if he does come back, he gets what he wants and he's in charge with sort of the rebuild, getting players out, bringing the players he wants to come in. I would like to see him. I would like to see him back, because the alternative, I honestly, I'm not sure what the alternative is for us at the moment. If it is just paper talk and Poch isn't coming back, then I think the only person really is probably Conte. Whether, again, if that Real Madrid rumor is true and they're sort of sniffing around for him, would he take the Spurs job over Real Madrid? He's only human. I find it difficult.
What would you do? I know what I would do, and I'm a Spurs fan. I know what I would do. Mate.
Yeah, same. So
Spurs, obviously.
Yeah, but no, I hope the rumors are true. I'd like to see him back, but if he doesn't come back, then we need a serial winner. And I think the only person that fits that bill out of the names that have been mentioned is probably Conte.
Okay.
You
Darius,
say that
final...
with such enthusiasm.
With such enthusiasm.
The alternative's just dire, isn't it? I'm just like, oh.
No, it's not dire. Please, it's not dire. It's not an alternative. Thank you.
Oh, bloody hell, Shy. You've got to done that. I hope Marlon's
no.
watching. I do hope Marlon. Marlon, if you're watching, someone's having a go at your boy here. Come on.
Yeah,
now.
you got
Darius. Final thoughts on Poch, and then a one line on, if not Poch, who do you want as your next manager?
Okay, on Poch, all I'll say is this. I'm 21 years old now, and I'll happily admit, throughout my time supporting Spurs, I've played football, so Saturdays and Sundays have been sort of difficult to have free time. So obviously when I've caught Tottenham, I've enjoyed watching Tottenham, of course, but I've never really had that desperation to watch your team every single week. I never really felt that until I was about 13, 14 when Poch took over, and I felt annoyed missing out watching those games, because watching Tottenham when Poch was in charge was just the best thing. It was the best thing about my weekend. It was the best thing about everything. So I can't be a hypocrite and say that I wouldn't be giddy, bouncing off the walls, running around, screaming Pochettino's name if he came back, because he really was a guy that made me fully like enjoy and love watching Tottenham every single week, and whatever game it was, I'll be there. So Poch, I feel like he sort of brings that air of belief and that desperation that you want to just support him and just be there for him. So I'm happy to have him back. In terms of managers, if he doesn't come back, because I know it's not going to happen, I don't really see how Conte works. I see him as another Mourinho, in my opinion. If you don't give Conte what he wants, exactly what he wants, there's no way it's gonna work out. And I've seen those players in that team. Those players will throw Conte under the bus quicker than any person will, because he doesn't tolerate BS. So if they don't leave, if he doesn't get him out,
they'll throw him under the bus and they'll reverse over him.
They will reverse
back over him again.
They'll do everything.
He won't allow that. I don't think any manager that's a serial winner isn't going to allow those players.
He said this about a certain Portuguese maestro. I've seen it happen. I literally spent 18 months watching everybody try to tell me that Mourinho's CV is going to win his trophies. It clearly didn't. Those players are mercenaries, and they will hold that power over that manager for as long as they stay in the club. So I don't really want to see Conte, because I think that he just needs too much, and Levy, after just giving Mourinho 50 million, won't give him it. The manager that I would want to see, who probably closely resembles Poch for me, is Erik ten Hag. Unfortunately, I think that he probably needs a DLF more than Poch does, because I think Poch has that history of being at Tottenham. So I think he'd be able to get his way around the club in terms of the power structure. But yeah, I think that Ten Hag is the closest to Poch we would probably have in terms of a project manager. But yeah, he needs a director of football, because I don't think that Ten Hag or people like Potter can really stick up to Levy like that. Poch would be the only person, as he's already been there, and Levy kind of has done him over once. He won't do it again. So yeah, Ten Hag if it's not Poch. But yeah, Poch, please, Poch, please come back.
Shy, you've just come off the phone, so you might have some inside knowledge. Is it Poch for you, or if not Poch?
I'm actually jealous of Darius, because at least he's seen good football since he's been growing up. Whereas, I've been watching Spurs since 1980, so he hasn't gone through the heartbreak.
I was going to say, I missed the 90s, Shy. I missed the 90s.
I know, and you know what? God bless you, because you've gone through a good era, mate. But no, I literally everything that Darius just said. Really, I think. Listen, I wouldn't be unhappy to have Poch back. I'd have a few reservations, but I wouldn't be unhappy to see him back. Again, a backed Conte would be. I wouldn't think would be a bad thing. I don't know if it's the type of football we'd want to see at Spurs again. Under the circumstances, we want to see good attacking football again. So I'm not sure that would be the case. But again, I've got a small thing for Ten Hag as well. To be honest with you, I called that. When it all started kicking off. I mean, Nagelsmann was my first choice, and then Ten Hag was probably my second. So in terms of bringing the youth through and trying to play that attacking style of football, I like Ten Hag. I think it would be a good option for Spurs. But again, has to be backed. Director of football, as we yada yada yada. It's the same thing everybody's saying. The fans aren't stupid. Let's be honest. The fans are not stupid. We know.
And we've had so many discussions through fan bases that people are, getting together, talking about things, and it's opening up certain cracks in areas. And we've got knowledge as well. Let's not forget. And I think you made that right point. Fans are not stupid. Nigel, come to you. Is it a case of Poch, or if not Poch, who's your thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, we're a team that's needing a rebuild on a very, very low budget, and obviously because we're in debt with our stadium. And after what Poch did the first time, I mean, I wouldn't put the responsibility in anyone else's hands. And he's proven he can do it before. He can work with this hierarchy successfully for a sustained period of time. I'm growing quietly confident that we will get Poch, to be honest. He does seem to be willing to come over. I mean, I'm trusting the Sun for the first time in my life, but they seem to have a decent player. So.
Wow.
What are you doing?
They seem to have a guy. They seem to have a guy.
Wyatt? Is that Charlie White you're talking about?
Whoever the guy who
Ronald McDonald. They must have Ronald McDonald. Do you trust Ronald McDonald at the Sun? Are you sure?
Listen,
I swear Jose just got a job at the Sun. Did Jose just
broke
get a
the
job?
story, so someone over there knows something about something. So I mean, yeah, I'm growing quietly confident. The Athletic keep putting out nice little things which are getting me hopeful. I'm seeing the Bread fans though, which I don't know, but yeah, I'm growing quietly confident on it. Failing that, Conte, yeah, Darius says Conte isn't like a perfect fit for what you'd imagine from Tottenham, but yeah, I'll take him just because he's an accomplished manager. I'm not going to compare Conte to Mourinho out of respect for him. It's just not even a reference point. It's completely different things. So I would take Conte failing that. Ten Hag, again, coming from the Dutch league, we don't know what commodity we're getting out of the Dutch league, players or managers. We've seen them be completely hit and miss.
We got a certain player. Let's not call him. We've got a certain player. Dutch league.
Oh, is it that one? Are we talking about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And we've got another one as well. Spurgy. And the dubbed by our previous manager the worst Premier League manager of all time. So you just don't know with these guys coming from Holland. So I mean, for me, Poch every day, it's a no-brainer.
Okay, cool. Sid, finally you. Poch for you, or if not Poch, who would you want?
So you know what? I think with Shea here. I want him back, but there's still them little niggly doubts about Poch coming back to Spurs. It all depends on obviously Daniel Levy. Guys, you know what? When you play Football Manager, when you've got that cheat, imagine that cheat we could have where unlimited funds and you can do what you want and go and buy who you want. When you imagine that, if we got Poch and we tweak that little cheat where we could just go and buy whoever we want.
And have Messi, Neymar and Mbappe up front next week.
Messi's contract's coming to an end this summer. Let's get him in. But why not?
As for if we don't get Poch, honestly, I haven't got a clue because Conte, Chelsea connections, I don't know whether that would work. And I agree with what you guys were saying. Certain players would probably throw him under the bus. Potter, Eddie Howe, anybody like that, they're too young. And will the fans want them? No. As always, every season, we go in for players, we go in for managers. We talk, and everyone else comes and nicks them. We've lost Flick, Nagelsmann, everybody, Haig, everybody we wanted, we've not got. So if we don't get Poch, honestly, I don't know. I haven't got a clue who I want, and my season ticket depends on it, to be honest. Literally, I don't know.
And
Well,
we're
the
talking to someone.
stats do say Ryan Mason said the stats.
Yeah, well, then,
I don't even want you to say that as a
you know
joke.
what?
I'm sorry.
I'm out then. I'm out.
You stolen my thunder, Shy. I was going to say
Sorry,
Ryan Mason
apologies.
in. Ryan Mason was
Yeah.
in. In all honesty, I would love to see Poch back in the job. I think he's got unfinished business. But what I would say to that is, and I think everybody's kind of touched on it, there has to be some other changes in there. I don't care which manager we bring in currently, they won't get what they need to get unless we make them fundamental changes. Director of football, chief scout, Daniel Levy being apart from, keeping them distance, keeping on the commercial side of things, let the football people do the football stuff, get in play. There's so much that needs to happen. It's going to take time. So we have to be patient in that process. Are we going to have that patience? That's the problem with the fan base. That's the problem with any club, really.
We don't have a choice, Sam. How much patience have we had?
I know.
We don't have a choice, do we?
We don't, and that's the point. So someone like Conte coming in, if it wasn't Poch, I just don't think without them changes, I just don't see how it's going to work because he's an explosive
Conte, he needs
manager.
complete control, doesn't he? He
does.
needs more control than Poch would want. And I think I'm not saying that Conte is. I think Conte is an absolutely fantastic manager. He literally has won
in the right environment.
Wherever he's gone. But if you look where he's gone, even so far as Inter, he asks for what he wants and he gets it. And when he says, "Give me these players and I'll win you the league," he'll prove it. He ain't going to get that. So I know for a fact, if he asks for players that are over 30 years old, even though they probably might help the squad, Levy ain't going to buy them. So he's just going to start throwing his toys out the pram, and we'll be in a situation where it will be so much worse off and we'll have nothing to show for it. Just like a certain Portuguese fraud 18 months ago.
Absolutely.
So I think Conte's made for Real Madrid. I think there's players there, like your Ramos is, that will just, they won't disrespect him. They will be like, yeah, we know what you've got, we know what you're about, and we're going to win with you. So, yeah, Tottenham and Conte just ain't going to work out for me.
I don't think so. And I think we'll do another, if the manager, all right, this is what we'll do then. If the manager appointment's not made before Tuesday, we'll have another talking points and we'll break it down to, like, I guess, the three most likely. I'll look on odds checker and see who that might be.
By next weekend, we'll know. By next weekend, I think we'll know.
Well, we have to. Surely we have to. Because when did the Euros start? Is it next week, the Euros start?
Yeah, next week after.
Yeah, so I think we have to know by the Euros.
We'll know by this weekend,
the one after.
I read somewhere this morning, apparently, that, or was it last night, that a decision was going to be made today. They already know who the manager is. They're just putting everything in place. But again, it's all paper
talk. Did anyone see that picture Spurs put up overnight? No. There's a picture of like a cockerel, and it looks like it's a dawn. And I looked at it and I thought, that's an odd picture to put up. So it's like literally a Spurs cockerel with on top of this stadium, like at dawn kind of thing. So I was thinking, maybe, you know what? Maybe that's a precursor to something that's coming today.
They've just got very artistic. Very artistic.
Who knows?
Spurs PR quality.
We'll have to do this show. Like I said, I'm hoping we get a manager sorted out soon. But for selfish reasons, I hope it's not before Tuesday because we can do a show on it if it's not. But apart from that, I hope we get stuff sorted out. But anyway, those who are watching, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comment. We are calling you the Paxton people. If you're watching, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to thank all my guests today. That's Mike, that's Darius, that's Shy, that's Nigel, Thanos, and Sid Spurs. Brilliant show. Let's do this again next week when we can. Hopefully, we'll get our manager sorted out. But again, Paxton Road TV, thank you guys, and we'll see you again soon.